Our world is made up of things that mostly make sense, so when something unexplainable comes along, it sure is interesting, isn't it? Here we've gathered a bunch of mysterious happenings and wrapped them all up into an excellent video for you. From people who randomly dance to their deaths, to unidentified humans alive and deceased. This is Unexplained Mysteries that will give you the chills. 10. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. We'll go ahead and start with something that most of you probably remember. Back on March 8, 2014, a flight flying to Beijing Capital International Airport from Kuala Lumpur International Airport just up and disappeared. Powerful countries like the United States, France, Russia, and China joined in on the search for signs of the plane or the 239 missing passengers on board, and it was the costliest search in all of aviation history. The search initially started in the Andaman and South China Seas, but communications of the plane with a satellite showed a possible crash site in the southern Indian Ocean, so it shifted in that direction. Over 3 years, 46,000 square miles were searched, but the location of the craft was not found, so the search was ended in 2017. Then, in 2018, a second search was launched, but found nothing in 6 months and was called off. All that's been found are 20 pieces of debris that are most likely from the crash. 9. The Dancing Plague. We're sure you've heard of all kinds of other plagues, but we're pretty positive you've never heard of one like this. Way back in July of 1518, a woman named Mrs. Trophia just up and started dancing in the street in Strasbourg, Alsace, which is now France. She danced and danced over 4 to 6 days, and within a week, 34 more dancers were participating with her. Then by the time a month had passed, 400 mostly female dancers were tearing up the streets. Now they didn't just dance, they kept going, non-stop, until they collapsed of exhaustion, and some even perished due to the fatigue, heart attack, and stroke. Officials tried to find an explanation, ruling out anything astrological or supernatural, and finally settled on the dancing plague being a natural disease. To this day, nobody has an explanation for the strange plague, and it goes down in history as one of the weirdest. 8. Paititi. Alright, we've got another lost city on our hands. You've undoubtedly heard of the legendary lost city of Atlantis, right? Well, what about the city of Paititi? A city full of riches, somewhere in the jungles of either Bolivia, Brazil, or Peru. Legend has it that Incaria, a hero in the mythology of the Inca, after founding Cusco and Quiro, ran away into the jungle to spend the rest of his life in the city of Paititi. The only problem is, the city has never been found. At least the experts aren't sure whether it has been or not. But that doesn't mean that many people haven't tried to find it over time. It's quite the opposite, really. More than 15 expeditions have set out to try and find the lost city in the last 100 years, although we're still not much closer to positively identifying its location. 7. The Devil's Footprints. Keep in mind that this happened back in East and South Devon, England, around the Exe estuary in 1855. So in good old February 1855, a heavy snowfall hit. Then, overnight, some 40 to 100 miles worth of hoof prints showed up in the snow. Who or what did the people think made the hoof prints? The devil, that's who. The prints measured just 3 inches across and 4 inches long, and they were separated by between 8 and 16 inches in single file. Now the peculiar part, the part which makes the whole paranormal devil part make some sense, is that the prints didn't exactly go around things, but over them. It's said they went over obstacles in their path, like rivers, haystacks, and even homes. If there were walls in the way, the footprints appeared to walk up and then over them, and the same goes for houses. It's never been solved, although it's hard to solve something when the evidence melts away, and there are many theories as to what could have happened. It went over houses, man. 6. Kenneth Arnold's UFOs. Kenneth Arnold was a private pilot who, while flying by Mount Rainier on June 24, 1947 on a business trip, saw something that not everyone sees every day. He spotted 9 objects in a row flying past the mountain at speeds that Arnold estimated were around 1,200 miles per hour. The sighting of the UFOs was the first after the Second World War, and it gained national attention. His description of what he saw led to the coining of the terms flying saucer and flying disc. So what did he see? What started as glints of light quickly became objects. Objects he thought could be geese, planes, or jets until he could spot no tail. They then flew erratically in front of him, then darted around the Mount Rainier area for a time while Arnold made estimates and calculations about their size, shape, speed, and other physical characteristics. They then flew out of Arnold's sight and left him with quite the story. Although there were other witnesses who corroborated the story, as they said they'd seen objects around the same time and in the same area as well. We're still not sure what they were or what exactly was going on that day. 5. Arkin Lona of Petrolona. Inside the Petrolona cave on the western foot of Mount Katsika on Chalkidiki Peninsula in Greece, a villager found a skull stuck about a foot off the ground in the cave wall in 1960. It wasn't just attached to the wall though, it was cemented in by brown calcite. Greek archaeologist and anthropologist Aris Poulianos first dated the skull to 700,000 years ago, although more recent datings have proved it to be younger. Poulianos also believed it to be outside the genus Homo, and came up with the genus name Arkanthropus for the skull. This claim has also come under fire. Other scientists used electron spin resonance to date the skull and found that it's between 240,000 and 160,000 years old, and they also believe it to be of the Homo genus. The thing is, in more recent times, 4 isolated teeth have been found, as well as 2 pre-human skeletons which date back to 800,000 years ago. Well, the Greek government has since banned further research having to do with the unusual discovery and has closed the case. Will we ever know the actual age of the skull cemented in the cave? Probably not. Will we ever know how it got there or what happened to who it belonged to? Probably not. It's all a mystery. 4. The Somerton Man. On Somerton Park Beach, not far south of Adelaide, South Australia, a deceased man was found on December 1st, 1948 at 6:30 in the morning. He was braced up against a seawall with his legs stretched out and crossed, and it appeared that he had passed in his sleep. He had several items on his person but no identification. The medical examiner believed he might have been poisoned, although he was unsure exactly how. Then a suitcase without a label was found checked in at the Adelaide railway station with various things inside, although nothing was identifying. T. Keen, Keen, and Keen were found written on the tags of a few articles of clothing inside, although that possible lead dead-ended when no T. Keens were found to be missing in any English-speaking country. He did have a scrap piece of paper in his fob pocket which read Tamam Shud and was torn from a book. Tamam Shud means finished or ended. Authorities found the book, and on the inside of the back cover they could see indentations from somebody writing. When analyzed, they found 2 phone numbers and what looked like a message written in code. The message has never been deciphered. He was then embalmed and buried without an identity, and nothing has come of it since. It's been known as one of Australia's most profound mysteries ever since. 3. The Babushka Lady. Okay, so this woman is called the Babushka Lady because of a headscarf she was wearing on the day that JFK was assassinated in Dealey Plaza in 1963. She was seen in many photos and videos from that day and was thought to be one of the only people to have the perfect vantage point of what happened. Eyewitnesses also saw her holding a camera, so authorities were interested in getting a hold of her footage to see what they could find. There was just one problem. After that day, the Babushka Lady never came forward, nor was she ever identified, and no one has a clue what happened to her film. In footage shot by Mark Bell, she's seen standing with a camera to her eye before and after the shots were fired, while everyone else took cover. She then crossed the street and joined a crowd, and was last seen in photographs walking away on Elm Street. 2. Dyatlov Pass. Alright, this is your fair warning. This one is a bit freaky. 9 people from the Ural Polytechnical Institute who were experienced skiers were in the Ural Mountains on February 2nd, 1959, when something gruesome happened. The thing is, nobody survived this one, so nobody has a full, clear understanding of just what went down. The 9 trekked to Kholat Syakhl slopes and made camp. The area is now called Dyatlov Pass to honor the group's leader, Igor Dyatlov, and it was there that they met an unfortunate end. In the middle of the night, the group tore their way out of their tents and fled into the wilderness, underclothed and unexpecting of what would take place out in the sub-zero temperatures. After finding the remains of the group, authorities concluded that an unknown compelling force caused what had happened to them. 6 passed from hypothermia, although 1 was missing a tongue and eyes. 2 others had some pretty major chest fractures, and the last had a badly fractured skull. It's still unsolved, so what did it is still out there. Just remember that. We've seen some pretty interesting mysteries so far, and we still have 1 more to go. But first, we'd like to ask, what's the most unexplainable, mysterious happening that you know of? Let us know down in the comments below, and you may see your suggestion pop up in a future video. 1. D.B. Cooper. You may have heard of D.B. Cooper, as his story became quite the cultural phenomenon after it happened and in the years following up until now. What happened was, a man carrying a briefcase and going by Dan Cooper bought a ticket for a 30-minute flight from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington, a flight that he ended up hijacking. He slipped a note to a flight attendant, told her he had an explosive, and demanded that authorities get him $200,000. They did, and the plane landed in Seattle to pick it up, and also let the passengers off the plane. The plane refueled. Cooper gave the pilots a new flight plan to Mexico City, and it took back off with just 5 people on board. Cooper then ordered everyone into the cockpit so he could be on his own. He strapped on a parachute, opened the aft staircase in the tail of the plane, and jumped. Investigators guessed his landing zone would have been around the southernmost area of Mount St. Helens, although it's been updated to being farther east than initially thought. Nobody has ever officially been identified or charged as D.B. Cooper. If you enjoyed this video, do us a favor and give it a like. Subscribe to our channel so that you can always keep up with our informative uploads, and be sure to check out this next video we picked out just for you.